Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Rewind Podcast. We've been back from a short break, a little hiatus in the middle of the season. And I'm so glad to be back. We are diving, actually, like the wheels have been moving at Christ Universal Temple because you dialed into the Rewind Podcast, which is the podcast extension of Christ Universal Temple and part of our online outreach, The Collective. And so I'm excited to be here. I'm Reverend Sheree. I'm the Director of Online Ministry at CUT. So just wanted to come and we getting this thing going again. It has been wonderful to dive into this powerful series that we're in right now, Mind Plus Grind, which is based on the book by Gavin Jackson, Esquire, who we're going to talk to today. He's in the hot seat. The title of the text is Mind Plus Grind, A Thinker's Guide to Practical Spirituality. And so the series that we're in right now at Christ Universal Temple is all about mind and grind. And so the author is with us today, and I'm going to bring him in just a second. But before I do that, I want to make sure that while you're clicking in, I know it's been a minute, friends. Thank you so much for being here. That I want you to go ahead and like it. You're going to love it anyway. Just go ahead and like it. But share it right now. There's somebody who needs to hear what we're talking about today. This is a liberation message that we have for you. And I want to make sure that you're able to get as many people as you know to tap into what we have going on here. And I appreciate that in advance as we are amping up for this powerful lesson rewind. And so, yeah, I'll talk a little bit about where I've been, while we have had a bit of our hiatus, just a couple of weeks. But it's all good stuff. And I want to talk about that a little bit with Gavin. But in the meantime, if you're doing that, I appreciate that so much. If you're making sure that you're pressing this out, this is an outreach of the collective, the online ministry for Christ Universal Temple. And I appreciate you for helping us spread the word. We are growing together. All right. So without further ado, let me bring up the author of Mind Plus Grind and the minister this week who gave the lesson sermon. Yes, I said it, minister. Gavin Jackson. What's up, Gavin?
Hey, Reverie. Hey, good to see you back. We've been missing you. We have been missing you.
I've been graduating people.
Understood. You've been doing big things.
Yes. It's been so great. I could do an entire rewind on my past few weeks. But it has been mind expanding, and I'm glad to be back here with this new mind as we go into Mind Plus Grind. Because I'm going to tell you, God is so good to me, and I needed this reset right now. And so I'm grateful for your lesson. I'm grateful for your text. And so before we dive into the lesson, I want to first say happy belated Father's Day.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day to all the dads.
You're not going to say it, so I want our listeners to know Reverend Ree's son has just graduated with, multiple degrees in college? He's a college graduate doing big things in this world, so I don't have to, make her be immodest. I'll be immodest for her. She's a proud mama, so congratulations to you. Congratulations to your amazing son. And so, yes, I think you deserved a little time off so that you could truly revel in that mommy accomplishment.
Yeah, it is. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's been amazing. And I know you got two boys on the way to that path, and
yes.
It's amazing to see who they become and how they show up in the world. It's like watching a movie. A nervous movie, but it's
right. with all the twists and turns.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, I thank you for that. Yeah, it's been great. And so I've been around the world a little bit. And so, like I said, I can talk about that another time, because what I want to dive into is your text. And I'm supposed to have it right here in front of me, and I don't, because like I said, I've been around the world. But let me say this, because this is not his new book. There's a new one coming, and I do want you to talk about your new one coming before we wrap out today. But Mind Plus Grind was written and released post-pandemic.
Yes.
Right. So tell me a little bit about Mind and Grind, A Thinker's Guide to Practical Christianity.
Yeah. So really, this was a post-pandemic, really a pandemic writing. we all got sat down for a few weeks, some of us a few months, some of us a whole year back in 2020. And so I guess it was between about March and June, I was just at home, with my thoughts. We were doing some online spiritual training for a lot of our people, teaching our noon days as we do at Christ Universal Temple every day at noon Central Time. And I just said, you know what? I have these thoughts on how I use biblical truth, spiritual truth, and I use it in business. I use it as a business leader. I use it in entrepreneurship. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to get it all on paper. Wasn't planning to do it, but I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do it, put it together. Had to edit it down. It started out very long, Reverend Ree. It started out very long. And I said, no, I wouldn't read a book this long. And the growing version of myself is always the first student of my own lesson, if that makes sense. So I basically just wrote the book for a version of myself that could have used it before. Wrote it for my actual sons, who I think at the time were like 11 and 14. And now it's out there. And so it kind of sat and just kind of lingered for a while. And wonderful people like yourself, the Reverend Wells, said, no, I think it's time to let people know and really do a push on this book. So I'm very grateful that Reverend Dr. Wells, our spiritual leader, said, no, we're going to teach Mind and Grind this June at Christ Universal Temple.
Good. Yeah, I'm on another level right now. I'm on another level because there are brilliant people in my life who are not hiding, but who are not, understanding the value of the work that they do. And you are one of those people. You know how dope Mind and Grind is, but I'm talking about just the big idea and putting it back into action, because when you bring something to life, there is a relief that you have over it, and it's exciting in the beginning, but we forget that even our projects grow up, right? And so I feel like this is a part of the growing up process for Mind Plus Grind. So before I dive into the lesson, I want you to know, just so I'm in order, that you can get Mind Plus Grind on Amazon.
Yes.
And you should get one for a few people, because the dope thing about the book is that it's absolutely biblical truth, but it is applying that in your real life and specifically in business, because that's the whole essence behind Mind Plus Grind, is that you don't have to be so spiritual that you're not also prospering in what you're doing. And so I love the idea that they can come together. And I got a whole theory about the Mind Plus Grind. I know, you know what, people, some of the screenwriters will write a movie, then they'll watch people talk about their movie and break it apart, and they'll be like, I didn't even mean that. Like I didn't write that in there, but I got a whole deduction of what Mind Plus Grind is in my mind. I'll share that with you for book 2.
Gotcha.
I love it. But so this was a powerful message. We're winding on just this past Sunday, June 15th. And the title of the lesson was Papa Don't Take No Mess. All right. So we rolling with Papa Don't Take No Mess. And what I want to do, I'm just going to open with the clip. But before I do that, because Reverend Wells has opened the series during my hiatus, is there, in terms of the intention setting behind Mind Plus Grind, what would you say is like your greatest intention for spotlighting the text to the community right now?
I mean, really, it's to take your spirituality with you everywhere you go. You're on vacation, you take it with you. You're ordering food at the restaurant, take your prayer work with you. Take it with you to work, take it with you when you play, take it raising your family. It is just doing the work, which is the grind, the physical work is important. But you have to absolutely pair that with an elevated state of mind, just for elevated experiences in your life. So if it's one thing, there's 2 sides to the coin. And I want you to use both sides. I want you to use your elevated consciousness and also move your feet. And
I think that this particular lesson, because Father's Day is a really, really interesting day. I always say interesting. Because Mother's Day can be interesting, but if you just go to the restaurants, you can see that Father's Day and Mother's Day are not equal in terms of how people celebrate, right?
No problems getting reservations this Sunday.
You don't even need a reservation. You can just walk in.
Right.
You can just walk in. And I got some, I think some of that is because moms cook, right? Moms usually cook, but the thing that I thought you did really well was talk about Father's Day in several different levels, right? So it's managing and dealing with, from a very spiritual space, the relationship that you have with your father, and understanding and naming that good. And then I think that then to take that and say, okay, I just see that as a jump off point, right? That your relationship with your father, for some people, it can be their stopping point, meaning that my father wasn't present, and so my life has been less than because of that. I've lost something, and they live at a deficit.
Right.
Or it could be your jump off, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be your jump off. So I thought that was really that looking at fatherhood that way, like, was that a conscious choice, or did it just kind of come out in the flow of giving people, like, I think the spectrum of people in their relationship with fathers, you dealt with it?
Yeah, no, it was a very conscious choice. I mean, it is, for me and my siblings personally, our father made his transition at 51, at a very, young age, relatively speaking. And then, you talk to people who maybe did not have a father in their life, or their father made their transition early, or their father's very, very present and great in their life, and then everything in between. Yeah. And so you don't want to leave people out on Father's Day when they're working through, so many things, when it's our job to teach people how to live, a happy life, a better life. My thing is, well, let's just get into it. I don't like to avoid the tough things. Mm-hmm. I like to just go right at it. And so I said, well, we're just going to go right at it. It's a tough discussion, but we're all here to better ourselves and live a life that works for us. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's just go right at it. So that was intentional.
And I think on Father's Day that I was really thinking about this. I don't know if we talk about Joseph as the father of Jesus on Father's Day. Like, I don't think I've ever had that connection before, but of course you would do that. But I'm gonna play this clip, but we'll dive into just looking at, I've been in lessons where it's looking at all the fathers in the Bible, and that's a whole fun little exploration. But focusing in on the earthly father for Jesus, I thought was a really interesting perspective. So I'm going to play this clip, and then we'll unpack.
So we talk about the father of Jesus as God, but we're going to give Joseph a little respect too. We're going to give a little high five, a little handshake to Joseph, because Father Joseph had a role. He had a purpose. His purpose helped Jesus fulfill his full purpose. Father Joseph maybe only did just a little bit. Father Joseph maybe only worked for a certain period of time, but we give thanks to Joseph, Father, for whatever he could do. He's raising the Son of God. That's not easy. But we have to thank him, however good or however not so good your time was with your Joseph, Father, still give thanks.
So and that wasn't the one I meant to play, but this is what I felt like was really important, because there was something that Joseph gave to Jesus that helped him to develop.
Absolutely.
And that is, I think, the most powerful thing you can share with someone who had an absent father, that there is still something that of value that was given.
Right.
And then do you use that and move on and build from it?
That's it. Even if it didn't work for you, that person gave at their level of understanding at that time. Mm-hmm. And so as we're training our minds as spiritual operators, we have to train our minds to give thanks in all things, even in things that at the moment on the surface don't seem like something you would even ever give thanks for.
Yeah.
It's just training your mind to say, well, how can this be a blessing to me now? How can I use this as a springboard? How can I use this to avoid other pitfalls in my life, on and on and on. And when you look at Joseph in the Bible does describes Jesus as son of a carpenter early in his life, before he's 12 years old. So in that time, that means that he learned a trade from his father, because, you know, there weren't schools and trade schools. You did whatever your father did. So that means that at some point he did sit down with him, taught him how to do a trade. He's the breadwinner in the house, so the food that he was eating as a baby came from Joseph. The payment for the house came from Joseph. We just can't throw him aside, as we know that Jesus is the divine Son of God. We can't just throw Joseph aside. And so I just wanted to bring that up, you know, in the context of Father's Day.
Yeah, I think that's really, I mean, and I think that needed to be said. It made me think about when I was growing up down south. I didn't grow up down south, but we would go down south in the summer. My grandmother and my grandfather had this thing about children being active. Like, are you washing walls, or like, because that was it. You were a part, and mind you, there was no need for all of that at that point, but that was still their mentality. So that I love to read and do puzzles and all that was like, this is the laziest person on 2 feet I've ever met before.
Right.
There's a letting someone discover themselves that had to happen with Joseph, because Jesus studied, right? At a time when children worked.
Yep.
Children work. So at some point he got the opportunity to study. So I thought about that. And again, another opportunity to give Joseph some props. I wanted to give Joseph that. Yeah, I appreciated that. And then at the same time, to look at your, like it made me think, what did my father give me? You know, because my relationship with my father, it just depends on what story I want to tell, right? Because I got a lot of different kind of stories, but I think about what he gave me, and I've been doing this spiritual work for a while, and I have pointed it at my father quite a bit, and realized that the gifts, even wrapped in the package of inconsistency, even wrapped in the package of his own inner turmoil, like even wrapped in because the gifts came, some of them came to me that way. They also came with complete adoration. They came with, you know, I did move in the world as if I could do no wrong, because, you know, I was a baby doll, you know what I mean? So there was all of those gifts given. And so what I can choose to do is I can choose to only unwrap one and call it like, this hurt me, or this caused me not to flourish in some way. But as I began to own my experience, I realized that you can frame these things in ways and to see the gifts in them, to see the good and the purpose in them. And that your lesson stoked a lot of that in me again.
And that's it. You know, at the end of the day, we want, you know, it's about practical spirituality. I do not believe in spirituality that just stays on the shelf, that just stays in the books, you know, that stays in sayings and poems and prayers. How can it actually help other people and help myself in the moment? And so that's kind of how I went into the lesson. Like, you know, we're going to help some people today.
And you said that there was that, let me see, let me think if I want to play this clip. I may want to just play the clip. Let me play this one, and we'll talk about, because I think that, again, you came real direct with what your intention was, what you wanted people to walk away with. Yeah, let's do this one.
I want you to receive on this Father's Day, for however short or however long your time was with your Joseph father, your earthly father, give thanks. Ever you may have received, not received, are still receiving from your Joseph father, give thanks for that experience. It has its purpose. Let it have its full effect in and through you. Don't let it hold you back and hold you down. That's why we try to get beyond the Joseph father at some point in your life.
So this is the whole thing right here. You said we try to get beyond the Joseph father. That I feel like, I don't know if like you really could have just stopped there and just had everybody, all right, let's get beyond the Joseph father, beyond your earthly father.
Right.
Because at some point you gotta move on.
You have to. And I want that I'm a father. I'm an earthly father of 2 sons. I believe, very, very, very present in their lives, probably more than they would like. Probably like, I want to hear from you today, Dad. But for them, my aspiration for them is to get beyond me, to have an understanding of who is their true source of life, who is their true source of money, who's their true source of health, not me, their Joseph father. And once they get past that, maybe they turn around and they teach me something new.
Yeah.
Maybe they care for me. Maybe they make sure I'm okay. So even as a father now, I want my own physical sons to get beyond me, to have an elevation in mind to whatever I've harped on about, however much I'm going to harp on it, come to your own understanding of who you are and whose you are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a powerful way to parent, because I think that there's, and this isn't no slight, because I think I've been there too, which is kind of more of an egotistical way where you want, want to make them something like, and if you've ever tried to force an academic to be creative, or a creative to be academic, or an academic to be athletic, like you see that these beings, they come with their own soul's agenda. And, the most that we can do is remind them of who they are and kind of get out the way. Right. Like, let me try to do as much as I can to be the guardrails, but also to get out of the way. And I think that to set that intention as a parent is an interesting approach. But I think that as an adult, right, as someone who has come up out of the childhood phase and are still reconciling with the presence or absence of their father, that at some point we have to recognize this was my earthly father,
right,
who was a person with issues,
with everything that being a person comes with.
I remember when I got that my mother was a person, I was like, oh, she was tired of me. Like she was tired of me. That's what that was about. Like sometimes you just get tired of some of the roles you play, right? That's what was happening, because she was a person.
And everyone goes through it, but thinking about it specifically on Father's Day, I just very specifically, as a father and as a son, wanted to make sure. I'll put it to you this way. One of the people that I had in mind was a good friend of mine who actually lost his only child 3 years ago and has been going through what is the meaning of his life without being a father on the other side of that. And so him trying to just work through, well, I did all I could with the time I had on the other side of that role. And so I'm like, no, I need him to see we have each other, parents and children, for as long as we have each other. And we do as much as we can with the understanding that we have at the time.
Yeah.
And that's not the end of the story.
No, not at all.
We don't, So I just didn't want to dance around that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we got to be courageous in these teachings. And I think that it is, and we also have to be honest with ourselves, right? Like at some point I had to stop blaming my parents for whatever I chose at that given time, like what my life could be or what could have been easier if they had just been. And at some point it is, and this is where where I'm going to go next with you from the sermon, is that at some point you got to, it's me, oh Lord, right? That I'm the one that is supposed to reflect the divine. I'm the one that is a child of the divine. And if I and the Father are one, if I am a reflection, if I'm the image and likeness of the Father, now what? Now what?
That's it.
This is so let me give you a little bit of what Gavin thinks is your now what. what your now what is. Oh, wait a minute, not that one. Not that one. This one. Wait a minute. Moving too fast. This one.
Everyone in that room to say, whoa, the Spirit of God is in this room. When they see me, they see the Father, means that you and I are supposed to show up as God's grace. You and I are supposed to show up expressing our Heavenly Father. We are to show up as love. We are to show up as compassion. We are to show up as prosperity. We are to show up as health. When they see you, when you walk in a room, everyone in that room to say, whoa, the Spirit of God is in this room. When they see you, they should see the Father that truly gave you life. Tapping into this identity will allow you to express the highest and best version of yourself.
So let me repeat that. You said tapping into this identity will allow you to express the highest and best version of yourself. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, the world reminds you of worldly identity so much. I mean, like you get reminded that you are black or white, or you are male or female regularly. You get reminded, are you Christian? Are you Muslim? Did you grow up in the hood? Did you grow up wealthy? Like all of these things you are always reminded. What school did you go to? What neighborhood did you grow up in? What fraternity did you pledge? What sorority did you pledge? All of these identities are built into our everyday movement. And that's okay. But what I wanted to make sure that I got out there is a higher level. When you show up, when people see you, they see the Father, means I am not just expressing my physical characteristics. I'm not expressing my weight or my height. I'm not expressing how much I have in my bank account. My first job is to express God. And in doing that, you reach a higher level of yourself. You start to reach your full potential. So I just kind of want to make sure I put a pin in that to say, hey, no, there's another level of this identity. You know, kind of the old school. Like we're made in the image and after the likeness of our Father.
But I think that that's a major mental shift that you called for, right? Yeah. That I'm not going to relate myself. I'm not going to identify my highs and lows, my capacity based on my earthly parents, based on what was given to me or not given to me by my earthly father. And I'm saying this from knowing that there are, like you said, the spectrum of experiences, that there are people who had amazing experiences with their father, who were supportive and showed up in all the ways that you would imagine a father could and should, and those who have an opposite experience where there may be a lot of pain around the experiences that they had, that this right here is true for all, right?
Yeah, true, and I used to struggle with that. I have a very, very good friend. Best friend of grown men are allowed to have best friends. And his father passed away when he wasn't even 2 years old. So he never had an experience with his father. And we're growing up as kids. I mean, I've known him since I was 6 years old. And so our earthly father experience was always different, just because his father had left this physical plane. But at a point, he moved past that to just always try to be a good person. I'd put it like that, because I'm not saying he's super religious, but always shows up as someone that's a helping hand, always shows up with care and empathy. So then you get to see, well, there's another way you can identify yourself that is beyond whatever your earthly parentage is. And there is power in that, Ree. There's power in it. It's freedom in it. But like he's not shackled by what he had or didn't have for a certain period of his life, because his self-identity isn't so attached to it that he's limited by whatever that is, good, bad, or indifferent.
And that's the challenge with a powerful influence in your life, right? Is that you're in relationship with the image, right? Like I have an image, and this is the way that I'm going to show up based on what I think about that image.
Right.
And so in one way, right, though I think that I'm sure he went through his own experiences of trying to reconcile not having a physical father that he could relate to, right?
Right.
But then he got to make it up. Like he got to make up this figment of like, what do I need? Who do I want to become? And it wasn't based on somebody else. Like that's an interesting freedom, right? Like we all have to get there because like you said, right? When they see you, they should see the Father who truly gave you life, right? When
Absolutely.
they see you, they should see God. And so all the things that you can release in order for them to see who you really are, that's what our intention is. That's what our intention is. When that's Dot said, when they see you, then they see me, they see God.
That's it.
Right?
Hey, Dot.
It's like when they see me, do they see God, or do they see my brokenness? Do they see, the mistakes that were made in my experiences? Like that's what we have to be able to release. And we do that by telling ourselves a new story, right?
Absolutely. And then freeing yourself to be what you're called to be.
Yes. Yes.
Like my earthly father would never, well, I wouldn't say would never. I cannot imagine him being like, yeah, Gavin, I want you to teach spirituality. I want you to minister to people. That is not how I was raised. I was raised from day one to be a businessman. And every lesson that I got, riding in the car, talking over dinner, watching games, was about business, business, business. And so I had to recognize that at some point and say, well, who do I want to be and who am I from my heavenly Father?
Yeah.
What's my true divine assignment? How do I want to express in my own heart? And that's not always easy to do when Joseph has been telling you, you're going to be a carpenter, because I was a carpenter and my father before me was a carpenter. What are you talking about? And so, like you said, it's not always easy to say, I'm going to do what God tells me to do.
Yeah, I mean, and let me tell you, we are such creative beings that I think that we miss when we're actually creating the limiting stories, right? In terms of what our capacities are. We're so creative that we miss that we're creating those limitations. We're
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
No, that's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's how dope we are, though. Huh?
Yeah. We're creating our own story.
We're creating our own story. Like I have a sister. We share the same father. Two completely different fathers, right? Two completely different fathers. Same man, right? Same man. Our relationship with him, our perspective of him, completely different.
Got it.
And it makes me laugh sometimes when she'd say things, and I'd be like, that wasn't my experience. But in terms of what of where we jump off from that, right? I think that there are places where we may be stuck in a story, our own individual stories, but to shake it loose, and I'm sticking with this for a minute because I think this is one of those places that I know I used to struggle with, which is that I am a reflection of the divine, not a reflection of the two people who gave birth to me. Like that feels even weird to say.
It does.
Like you're disrespecting your parents.
It absolutely feels like disrespect. Because, I mean, imagine, your parents sacrificed and did so much and went through so much and gave up so much for you to be A, B, or C. And now your heart is saying, no, I want to be X. It feels disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like I'm not honoring the work that this person did, teaching me how to be a carpenter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, that's real.
I remember when my son was younger, and I sent him to this camp that was a traditional Christian camp that it was like a sleepaway camp. A week without him, it was like heaven. And he comes back, and he had, they had to take a Bible, and it was this whole thing. Now, mind you, he's been going to Up Church for his whole life, right?
Right.
He comes back, Mom, did you know about Jesus? Right? He's telling me all these things he learned about Jesus. Cut to so I'm thinking, I've been teaching you about Jesus forever, right? But no, not the way they did at this camp. Cut to at some point, he tells me, I'm not sure if I believe in God.
Right.
And I was like, okay. I'm like, it took me, it was like a whole minute that happened in a split second where I was just like, you don't believe in God. Are you kidding me?
Right.
But okay, like you don't have to believe in God, and you definitely don't have to believe in God the way that I believe in God, right? Like that's totally it. And it was that moment when I think that little things happen as your children are developing where you realize that they're their own person, right? That they're their own person. And that was it. I can't give him God.
Yeah. He'll get it for himself in a way that works for him.
In a way that works for him. And the same thing is that you may be working with a God concept that was given to you, but it's not yours.
Right.
So how can you
that is kind of a linchpin of our entire spiritual movement. 70 years ago, imagining a Black woman, Johnny Coleman, coming back to Chicago after being in Unity, telling Black people, like, you don't have to wait until you die to be happy. Like, how many parents that had to have upset?
Yeah.
Hearing that from Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman, our founder, saying these things, that is a different spiritual concept than that person's parents and grandparents have been teaching them. Yeah. Even if only slightly different. And then people saying, nope, I'm going to understand God for myself. That's a big leap.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. I always say that's Reverend Della would say, mind your own spiritual business. Like that's a part of it. Is like, I can't, if I mind my own spiritual business, I won't get wrapped up in that. And I know, I've been around people who have gone into religious traditions that did not seem like safe spaces for them to be emotionally. And the thing is to continue to affirm the power and presence of God that's active in the midst of each and every one of us, and not to get caught up in the way that they're expressing it. Like they're gonna, we're all going through our own experience. And so I love that I think Mother's Day and Father's Day both do that. They give us a chance to look at and honor, honestly, the experience, the people who came and said yes. Right? These parents said yes at some level, right? And that had an impact on us. We get to say what that impact is. We get to move from in alignment with that impact. We get to choose that. And you talk about the jump. For me, I call it the jump off space. The jump off space that you went to was more around, for me, about if I recognize that I'm supposed to emanate the Father, I'm supposed to be like God. And now let's talk to the grind part, right? Now we take it into the grind part, which is now you got to take that out into your life.
Absolutely.
So how do you live that? And you talked about Frederick Douglass as literally the one with, I didn't know that he had said that was his saying, that one with God is a majority.
Yep, he is attributed with that quote from the originator of that quote.
That I don't even know. That's one of the things I think I might have said. Is that in the Bible? One with God is a majority, and I think that's. I want you to talk just a little bit about how that works in your, let's say, in a business setting, right? How do you take, now that I'm supposed to be like my Father God,
right?
And what do I do with that when I am in a business meeting, right?
Well, it's very useful when you come into a situation where, at least in fact, the odds are against you, right? So we just talked about your amazing son graduating from college. When he's applying to college or applying to jobs, they're always telling you, like, oh, only 1 in 5 that apply to this school get accepted.
Yeah.
They're only accepting, 2% of this. My very first internship in Wall Street, the first meeting was, we are only hiring 50% of you. They just set up a competitive environment out the gate. And it is helpful for us as spiritual operators to say, forget the odds you're telling me. My chances are always in the majority, because I am one with God. Like, I'm going to testify for myself. The chances are good for me
Right.
because I am working with one that maybe you don't understand, but that's what I'm working with here. I'm not working with your odds. I'm not working with your understanding. I'm working with my understanding. And so that's how you can use it in negotiations and offering and purchase, an offering to buy companies, which I've done before. You got to take it with you.
And I think that you got to know it's okay to take it with you.
You got to get comfortable with it.
You don't have to light a candle and pull out beads in the middle of the meeting. You got to know.
But I tell you, I've blessed people shaking their hand. People coming to shake my hand and they think they're my opponent. And when I'm touching them, I am praying for everything to work out for both. But they don't know I'm laying hands on them. They think they're just shaking my hand. Nope, I'm touching the table. I'm blessing the table. When I shake your hand, I'm blessing you and your family. They don't even have to know that I'm having church. You think we're having a meeting. We're having church. Or at least I'm having church. Because that's what I need to do in this meeting.
I know, and I think that's the part that I really appreciate about the approach you share in Mind Plus Grind, is that you don't have to leave God on the shelf in order to be successful in your business life. And these prayers to people, I know, turning a situation around is using the power of prayer, where it's like there is no adversary, right? There is just love, and using that power of love to transform a situation. I mean, I got a book to write about that. Like that, there is because I know that you can take this into your world. This is not for you to have on Sundays. This is for you to be. This is a new way of being. For you to emerge to, right? That every day my intent is I and the Father are one. My intent is one with God as a majority, as my mindset, right? Judith said, one with God as a majority. This saying is so meaningful and reassuring to me. I never feel alone. I never feel alone. I want to listen, just on that note, I want to move into this clip, and then we're going to unpack what it means to have one with God and be a majority. So good. Here we go.
I am health. I am peace. I am prosperity. And situations or people try to challenge you. Who are you to say that? Who are you to think you should have everything? Who are you to think you can move out of that neighborhood? Who are you to think you can be better than us? Why are you talking all proper now? Who are you shopping all these fancy clothes? Your testimony is valid because you are not alone. You stand with the Father who sent you. Remember, Jesus is a way shower. He's saying the greater things you will do. So when you see Jesus speaking, let that mind of Christ Jesus also be in you. I am not alone. And sometimes you got to say it to yourself.
I am not alone. I am not alone.
It's a helpful refrain. It's a helpful refrain.
Yeah. Because I know that feeling of, I've been in rooms where it's like is anybody in this room rooting for me.
Right.
Anybody that care just a little bit about my well-being.
I'm sure many of us have been in some really, really racist rooms where like people are treating you like you're some type of monkey. Like they're treating you like you're an animal. And I won't even say you, I won't say people. I mean, keep it personal. I have to watch my competitive nature because I'll switch to fight mode like that. And fight mode is like the weakest, lowest level of thinking. But that's the way you were raised. Like, you don't let anybody outdo you.
Right.
And it's really a higher level that can move things out the way almost effortlessly. There's a higher level of thinking that can just make things dissipate. And it is that, I'm not alone. Like, I was sent here by God.
Yeah.
I stand with my Father. And so why am I even thinking about you? I should be listening to whatever instructions I'm getting. I should be praying for happiness and peace in this situation. I should be heightening my awareness of everything that's going on and how God is moving everything, and heightening my awareness of the source. All of these challenges are really tricking you into thinking that there's some other power.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to send 5,000 troops to LA just so you know I'm powerful. And then make you all nervous and upset you in your sleep. That's a distraction from I'm not alone. You can send 50,000 troops to LA.
That's right.
I'm not alone.
I'm not alone.
God
I'm not
is gonna work
alone.
with
I'm
me
not.
the way God needs to work with me.
That's right.
No matter
That's
who's
right.
doing what.
That's right. That's right. These rooms that we walk into.
Just so the audience knows, she's in LA. Reverend Rhea is in LA right now. So she
Listen,
dealt with the fires, she dealt with the earthquakes, the protests, National Guard. And look at that smile on her face.
And God is so good to me. God is so good to me. And I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for this teaching, because when you know that you can control your thinking, that we're so creative. We are so powerful and creative. And sometimes we think that my big metaphor is that we set the temperature, but sometimes we think that we are just given, we think that we're thermometers, but we really set the temperature.
Okay.
And so I look at this like I can say and name this experience to be whatever I choose to be. I choose it to be. I'm that creative. And it will conform to what I say. That's why we can say that it is good. That's why we have to, like, imagine everybody walking with that kind of power. Right. You know, I sat in rooms. I don't know if I perceived so much racism as I have against just feeling like maybe I got the double whammy with the woman and right. and being a Black woman thing.
Is it sexism or is it racism today? Which one is leading today?
I think they sometimes would link up together, but this is the way that this is the lesson I needed to get, right? Because I would watch my ideas. Mm-hmm. I would say an idea and give it 3.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Somebody else would say that same thing and it would take root, right? And so I used to sit there. So I actually made a game of it, right? And I'd be like, I wonder how long it's going to take for somebody to repeat this. And then it's going to be something that's now all of a sudden this great idea. Mm-hmm. And that happened until I began to value my own ideas, right? Okay. I began to value my own, what I had to say, right? And I went through my phases where I would say, I'm going to plant the seed out here. I'm sure it'll take root in a few minutes. And I would literally introduce an idea like that, right? That. That's my fight. That's the way I'm going to plant this seed. I'm sure it'll take root. Look, you guys may need a few minutes to chew on this one, but then I know somebody else is going to grab it, right? I would just say it like that and say what I had to say. That's me fighting. But yes. Once I recognize the power of who I am and that my ideas are fruitful, that my ideas are valuable, I didn't have to do anything differently. I didn't have to go and change anything. But my environment conformed to me knowing who I am. That's the power of what we are teaching. Shamika said that when you understand your power, you can operate in that way in day-to-day life. You can absolutely do that.
That's it. Thank you, Shamika.
Yeah, it is important that we get the practical nature of this truth, that we're not just meant to know and be able to repeat. I honestly, Reverie is saying this, y'all can go and tell it. I don't care if you know a word of the Bible. I don't care if you can't repeat a verse. Okay, they got apps for that. But when you sit in a space and it appears that you are in a victim space, when it appears that you are not being supported, if in that moment you can grab on to that I and the Father are one, that I am not alone, that I'm powerful because of who I am, not because of what they say. Like the teaching is winning. The teaching is winning in those spaces.
And it's a practical trick because I mean, scripture is so vast that you can kind of get washed in it. And I think it's helpful for, people, what statement am I going to take with me for just this week? And if you can't take it with you for a week, take it with you for a day. If you can't take it for a day, take it for an hour. And it could just be something as simple as I am the Father are one. I do not stand alone. Mm-hmm. Whatever. Mm-hmm. And And that's all you have to take. You don't have to take every chapter and verse. I'm taking this one line with me today to work, to visit the parents, to visit the whatever. And then you will start to see, you will build an arsenal of truth to bring with you so that you're not going out in the world, naked without your truth, just out there being pushed around by whatever quote unquote facts people are giving you.
Right.
So don't let the whole people quoting all sorts of scriptures and verses, but they can't feed themselves. They're never happy. They're always complaining. Well, what's the use in that?
Yeah.
We're practical here.
Listen, it's about, if you can't use it,
right.
What are you doing? What are we doing? There's a one, you pulled the lyric out of one of my favorite songs, so I had to bring that out here. Because Jill Scott is absolutely an apostle, right? Like just let's just call it what it is. Modern day truth sayer. And what she said is, I'm taking my freedom. That line by itself could end it, right? Like, that's taking my freedom. And that's what that, to me, like hearing that freshly was like, oh, I'm leaving certain things on the shelf. I'm not taking them. Like, I'm leaving. So she said, I'm taking my freedom and pulling it off the shelf, putting it on the chain and wearing it around my neck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking my freedom.
I didn't think about that. I like how you said that. The fact that she's taking that off the shelf is saying there's something else that she might be leaving. The shelf has a lot of things.
Yeah.
She's taking what works for her.
I'm taking
only what works for her.
Yeah, I'm taking my freedom. And that is, I think, the message, of a really powerful message, a way of looking at Father's Day, right? Like, what are you taking off the shelf from your experience with your Joseph father, with your earthly father, right? What are you taking off the shelf of who you are as a child of the divine, right? Your spiritual father. Like, we get to lay claim to that. But you got to take it.
Yep. But I like how she says, she's wearing it. She's proud of it. Because when you're wearing something around your neck, it's with you all day. Mm-hmm. It's with you at the grocery store. It's with you at the gas station. It's with you all day.
Yeah.
And so I put that in the beginning of one of the chapters in the book, just because I'm like, no, that's setting the tone.
That is chapter 4.
How you use the spiritual truth. Like, just wear it around your neck, so to speak. Bring it with you everywhere.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's really powerful, because I know that we can pick and choose environments where we show up as our full self, right? Where maybe we may not feel like it's my time, or maybe we don't feel like, for whatever that creative barrier we made up, we start to shrink in certain environments. And I don't know if you've ever seen somebody do that, where it's like, who is this person?
Right.
I've had friends go with me in different places. They're like, you are a completely different person here. And I didn't know. Mm-hmm. No, I didn't know.
I think it's a natural defense tactic. I know I've done it and still do it. And I mentioned this in an earlier sermon. Reverend Wells caught me doing it when I first started working for him. And he said, stop making yourself smaller to make other people feel comfortable. And I went and wrote that down, because Reverend Wells is not the type of person to give you a specific direction on what to do or not to do. He's more of a Socratic method teacher, asking you questions. So when he says something specific, like stop playing small to make people feel comfortable, I'm like, you know what? I do like people to feel comfortable. That is part of my personality makeup. Like, okay, everybody's okay, everybody good, but a lot of times that doesn't work for me, and sometimes it works against me. And so, no, you don't have to change and dim your light in circumstances. And if you find yourself doing that, maybe do a little self-examination and ask why.
Yeah.
And then maybe ask why you're even in that situation. Maybe that's not where you should be.
Yeah. If
you have to completely change who you are and how you want to express in a physical environment, that might not be the environment for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in a I feel like I've been in a perpetual reset, but I've been in the reset. I've been shifting, right? And one of the things that just occurred to me that I need to do more from what you just said is that it is that paying attention to yourself and to like how you're showing up in the room. I'm a big fan, and I haven't been journaling about this, but I'm a big fan of journaling. I think that if you're able to write however you like to write out your observations about yourself. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's something to say, like, what happened today when my son and I just traveled for 2 weeks in Asia. And one of the things
Say it again. My son and I just traveled together for 2 weeks in Asia.
We did. We're set. We're set.
Go ahead.
We're setting off new things. This is our new thing now. We're going to travel together.
I love it.
But one of the things I realized is that the days start to blend into each other. Like, we were seeing just so stimulated. And I don't know if you've ever been in a space where everybody is speaking a different language around you. And there is English is everywhere, but there's also just like 2 or 3 other languages always, and English is the small one,
Mm-hmm.
And at one point it was so stimulating, and then it wasn't. Right. So all of this coming at me. One of the things I decided to do was just to write what we did every day.
Okay.
Right. Just so that I can say, today, this is what we did. Sometimes I wrote what we ate. And so sometimes just reflecting on your day, not so much of like chronicling like a calendar of what you did hour by hour, but just kind of like how you felt in different key moments of your day and how you showed up. That could be something that will really help you, because this is all just information, right? You're going to be this is like the buffet we're setting, right?
Right.
You get to choose what you eat off of the buffet, right? You get to choose what you actually incorporate. So I want to encourage you, like, not just to see and to look at all of this, but incorporate something off of this table into how you move. And I know journaling helps you to it helps me to see myself in circumstances, to just be honest, because nobody can see this. This is just my own personal writings,
reflection.
Yeah. And it's like, my grammar doesn't have to be great. I can misspell. My handwriting doesn't have to be cute. Like, all of those is my free space.
It's just
so I want to invite you to that. It's just for me. It's just for me. And we all need that. So however you do it, I know there are other ways to kind of ponder yourself, right? To think about how you show up. Because if you are the child of God who has been endowed with all the bounty of the universe, you have all the power, all the wealth, all the love, all of the wisdom, if all of that is yours, how does that change the way that you show up in the world? I think that's worth thinking about. That's worth like just looking at yourself to say, I should be ever expanding, because I'm made out of the ever expanding stuff of God, right?
That's it.
And you got to ponder yourself for that. You got to take a moment. Like, it just helped me to reorganize a little bit, because I think that that's been a missing ingredient in the past few months.
Well, so what you're saying is that I should just fly to Asia for 2 weeks. Is that the lesson?
That'll do it.
I got you. I'm messing with you.
No, that'll do it. Fly to Asia for 2 weeks.
I need 2 weeks.
Bring your walking shoes. Bring your walking shoes.
Tamika. Hey, Tamika. Thank you for jumping on. Darlene, thank you so much. Appreciate it. So good to see my spiritual family up here.
Yeah. And listen. It's a very, very loving community. The collective is growing little bit by little bit, growing gradually and exponentially each and every time that we show up for one another. I got one more clip I want to play. Okay. So tomorrow is Juneteenth. So I did want to end on a Juneteenth moment, because if you read chapter 4 of Mind Plus Grind, that Juneteenth is you actually talk about Juneteenth in the text. And so this is from the text. In chapter 4, you said, therefore, Juneteenth is not a celebration. So just really quickly, in case you don't know what Juneteenth is, that it is it's the Independence Day that was celebrated by enslaved people in the borderlands and like the Texas area, because word hadn't quite got there yet, right? So they celebrate Juneteenth as, and I think it was like the next year, right? Like it's
3 years later.
Right. It was 3 years later
after the Emancipation Proclamation. Yep. Okay,
I'm not gonna dive into that, but yes. Okay, yeah. So 3 years later, we're
right,
catching word.
Exactly.
And so, but the point that you made in the text, I thought, just kind of thinking about knowing the law and living it, like are kind of two different things. You said Juneteenth is not a celebration of the law, but is a celebration of the knowledge of the law. That's how you phrase it. Yep. Similarly, it's only the knowledge of spiritual laws that allow you to avail yourself of the spiritual rights with which you are born. I'm going to add that into the banner, but talk a little bit to us just about this idea of the law and then knowing it. So there's freedom, but then there's knowing that you're free.
Right. No, I mean, God has always been God and is always going to be God. And God has already done what God is going to do. It is how aware are we of what we are and what we should have. Mm-hmm. And the further that awareness is, or that consciousness is, then you can live within the rights, the spiritual rights that are already endowed upon you. So in Juneteenth, the slaves that were in Texas and what is now Oklahoma, once they started to find out, wait a minute, y'all can't legally do this anymore. It wasn't even just the Union generals and soldiers freeing them. There were a lot of revolts. It was just the knowledge of this has changed. There is a new law of the land. No, I'm going to be able to live in accordance with this new law because now I'm aware of it. And so I was just making a parallel of, as we as a spiritual community learn more and more about who we are and whose we are by spiritual law, revolutions take place within our own souls. You know, there's a breaking of bondage that takes place in our own spirit and being, because now you know. Like once I have truly ingested the idea that I deserve to be happy, it is a lot more difficult for situations and circumstances to force me to be unhappy, because now I know better. So that was kind of the point I was trying to put out there.
Yeah, it's so I think about this with people who are introduced to new thought or positive thinking or the power of affirmations, and you can say, I am health, I am healthy, right? And not have an experience of greater health, right? You're not having that experience, because I think that it's just to say it, but then to know that health is not an outward expression, right? It's an inner knowingness that then begins to really be how you are expressing health, right? It's the inner knowingness. And so I wanted to end kind of on that liberation message, because that's truly the message that lets us free, because I know the frustration of, I've been working these principles, right? I know the frustration. My life hasn't changed, and I'm struggling with money, and I have been, speaking the word of truth. And I don't understand why this isn't working. People will give up on this way of living because they don't find that they're getting the results that they want. And it's this subtle shift that you shared here about that. Like Juneteenth is the perfect metaphor for that. It is not just saying that there's the law there, but do I know it?
Yes. And so I think we should use, as a spiritual community, use tomorrow to remind yourself who you are. Like, just use it as an annual holiday of spiritual emancipation. An annual holiday of let me just remind myself of what I deserve by right. Because what that does is it shifts your attention on how to get it. When the slaves were told, man, they can't do this legally anymore, I'm sure they thought about escaping before, but now you're really looking. Yeah. When does the master sleep? When is it going to be a full moon? Who's going to help us? How can we pack this food? Now the intellectual mind is attached to the freedom mind, and it sees other opportunities that didn't exist before. So when your intellectual mind attaches to that spiritual mind that knows you're supposed to have it, you will see things that you would have never seen before, because now it's hit your soul that you deserve it, that you're supposed to have it. And then you can watch how it works.
Yeah. I love a new intention behind a holiday, because I love holidays. So I do. I'm a holiday person because you get to assign meaning to it, right?
I love,
You get to assign a meaning to it. Yeah. So I love that as a true liberation, a spiritual liberation day. And so as we move into this, wherever you are in the world, right? Because the history of it is one aspect.
Right.
But I love the charge you just gave to think about that as your spiritual liberation day. Right. And I think that even maybe today in preparation, what are you in bondage to? Like what thought, what fear, what experience, what parental figure, right, are you in bondage to? And just acknowledge that today and allow yourself to be free. I like the dawn of a new day, right? So you can wake up tomorrow and say, I'm done with that.
Yes.
I'm done with that. I'm ready to be free. And I declare my freedom. I'm taking my freedom.
Taking it. Amen.
I'm taking my freedom. Thank you.
Thank you.
This has been good.
I see all my good people. I see the president of the board of directors on here, Tiffany White. Hey, Madam President.
Tiffany, see what's going on, Tiffany. I know it's
Sandy Lynn. Appreciate you, Sister Sandy.
Thank you, Darlene and Tamika and Judy. Thank you, Judy, for coming in all the time. Shamika holding it down. I appreciate you. Of course, Dot, who's always the anchor. I love it. Jeffrey, I'm not sure if you're still here. And Velma, thank you all so much for joining us in live today. Miko was here. What's going on? I see you from way up in the top. So thank you all for being here today. Barbara, if you're still here, Deborah, if you're still here, thank you all for coming and joining with us today. The rewind is back. Rewind is back. We just had a little hiatus. And so I hope you got a chance to catch up on some rewinds if you've been missing them. Know that you can get the entire first 2 seasons, right? We got a whole season in the bank from last year. And then, of course, all that we've recorded this year. You can find them on YouTube at CU Temple. And the podcast playlist is there. You can find them all there. So I thank you so much for being here. Number one, I do want to encourage you, because these are recorded. You can always share, right? So take your amazing pointer finger and share it. Right? You can share it to your email list. You can share it to your Instagram page. You can share wherever you choose. But we do appreciate you sharing the message, sharing out. Let people just you don't have to explain it. Just share it. I think you should listen to this, right? And share it out like that with people. Coming up at the temple, right? We have a couple more weeks of Mind Plus Grind. So I know next week I will have Reverend Gaylon in the hot seat, and then you come back to wrap out the series, right?
Yep, I'm coming back. I'm going to teach that the final Sunday of the month. I think that's the 27th. We're going to teach the process from mind to manifest is what we'll teach when I come back in 2 Sundays. So
I'm looking forward to that.
Please buy the book, share the book. If you search for Gavin R. Jackson on Amazon, that book will pop right up. You can get a hard copy or get the Kindle version. And then you can find me on Instagram at MG Practical Spirituality for some inspiration throughout the week.
Oh, I love that. Yes. Oh, listen. Okay, so when we close out, I have a video that plays. I did not add in the new IG, so I'll make sure that that's in there for the end of the month.
I'm doing new things, Reverend.
I know. I gotta keep up.
Taking my freedom.
Yes. So know that this is not the last you will hear of Mind Plus Grind, that it is a powerful umbrella to teachings that will support us in how we live our lives, right? That you take your spirituality with you to thrive in every area of your life. And so I'm excited about it. I'm excited about this reset.
Yes.
Are you hearing me? This reset on the project. And thank you all again for being here. Last thing I want to say, this is a message for the Christ Universal Temple family. For those of you who were a part of the Manifest program, we launched that in right after Easter. Cohort 2 is coming up in July, and so you'll be able to sign up for that shortly. But I know that there are those who either didn't finish all 4 of the workshops and want to, or those who didn't get a chance to start. And so there is an online component. You can have that experience online. I'm going to offer it at 2 different time zones online, or it'll be after service for those who are in the Chicago area. So just wanted to let you know that Manifest is returning. Badder and better. The bigger, badder. What is it? Bigger, badder, deffer. Was that the Run DMC album?
I'm not a Run DMC expert.
Me neither.
No.
Me neither. Yeah, but anyway, it'll be back. It'll be back bigger and better. And so I appreciate that. If you don't know what Manifest is, you can go to manifest.cutemple.org and just take a peek at the program that just wrapped up and jump in for the next cohort. Thank you again, Gavin. This has been a joy.
Thanks for having me.
Good food, good spiritual food. Anything you want to say before I wrap out?
Nope. Just appreciate all you guys supporting, and that we're gonna keep this rolling. And enjoy your Juneteenth.
Enjoy
take
your
freedom
day.
Tomorrow.
Take your freedom off the shelf. You deserve it. You
Yes.
deserve it. God bless you real good. We'll be back next week with the Rewind.